1, Tuesday, January 27th, for our regular public board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First, I'd like to welcome everyone and acknowledge that the Board of Education acknowledges that we're on the traditional territories of the Comox First Nation. We would like to thank them for the privilege of living on their land and the gift of working with their children. I am chairing tonight's meeting, so I think it might be my first one. Well, it is of 2026 because it's January. So bear with me. But yeah, welcome everyone. I see some new partner group faces, so welcome. And yeah, thanks everyone for being here. We have a few people attending virtually, so maybe if I don't notice somebody up there, my partners here can just give me a little wave and let me know that there's a hand up there in case I'm ignoring someone. Thank you. So agenda changes and additions, there's none. If I could get a motion to adopt the agenda. Janice? Seconded by Shannon. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. And adoption of the board meeting minutes from December 16th, 2025. Thanks, Janice, for moving that motion. And Chelsea McConnell-Keen seconding. And we'll move to the record of the in-camera minutes from December 16th, 2025, January 13th. Great, those are meeting minutes. And then no presentations and delegations. We can move to announcements, straight into our superintendent's report.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Just a couple of things I wanted to share tonight, this first board meeting of 2026. And that is that we are earnestly getting ready for the 26-27 school year with kindergarten registration that is now open. We've had some strong early registration, which is excellent, as well as significant interest across several programs, including the new Pathways Learning Community Airport and the expanded Enter program at Aspen Elementary. And just a quick reminder that there's a NIDES, a FAY Compass program out at NIDES on January 30th from 9:30 to 11:30 for people seeking more information. I wanted to highlight the first session of the Pathways and Possibilities Lunch Series, which brought Indigenous secondary students from across Comox Valley schools together at the Comox First Nation Community Hall through a collaboration between Comox First Nation, Indigenous Ed, and SD 71 Career Education. The opening session focused on careers in the trades, with students hearing directly from community and industry partners around training options, apprenticeships, and hands-on in-demand career pathways. Students engaged in meaningful conversations, they asked questions, and they explored how to build sustainable, purpose-driven careers. Upcoming sessions will focus on health and education, as well as entrepreneurship and tourism. This month, we are pleased to host a few adaptive school seminar sessions, which were made possible through the leadership of Huban Park Elementary Principal Lucinda Walters. Adaptive Schools is a professional learning experience that strengthens collaboration, builds collective efficacy, and supports educators in moving from working in isolation to thinking and acting as purposeful, interdependent teams. And the work reflects our ongoing commitment to build strong professional communities in support of student success. Pleased to share a few of student accomplishments over the last few weeks. Our Robotics 71 team has been very successful and will be hosting a robotics tournament this Saturday on the 31st. Public admission is free. They've had tons of success. Love to see lots of support for them. So if you can, get out to Highland this weekend. And of course, a big thank you to all the volunteers who make a tournament of this significance occur. Also wanted to share that we are just at the very beginning of our preliminary budget engagement. We've started early this year as part of our commitment to strengthening collaboration and transparency. We will be launching surveys early next week to ensure voices are heard across rights holders, partners, leadership, and the broader community. All feedback will be summarized and shared publicly with the board and with partners and community at the May 10th, 2026 public engagement session. And I also wanted to note that although we have booked engagements with each of our partner groups, we will be expanding with another opportunity. So we'll be connecting with partner groups around the opportunity to meet directly with the ST superintendent and trustees to hear budget priorities, and so we'll be extending an additional invitation to our partners. While I'm talking about partners, I'll also let partners know, maybe a bit of a heads up, that we'll be looking for partners to be part of the working group that will be looking to review all proposed changes to the entirety of our administrative procedures. This would be a working group that would be in place from February 1st, 2026 till January of 2027. And so there'll be further information provided to partner groups this week around that opportunity to really influence in really pragmatic ways the direction of the district. And then I wanted to also recognize an outstanding achievement by the Mark Isfeld Senior Girls Basketball Team. The team recently won the 53rd annual Victoria City Police Tournament, marking the first time in school history that Mark Isfeld captured this title. This season, the team has recorded 16 wins with just 3 losses, is undefeated in North Island League play, and has secured the #1 seed heading into the playoffs. Just wanted to send a special congratulations to the athletes, coaches, and school community on this exceptional achievement. And then lastly, I wanted to close just by acknowledging the efforts of our Director of Operations, Molly Proudfoot, and her team for their work in prioritizing moves of 2 portables from Aspen to Vanier and having those necessary classrooms available for the start of semester 2. So really grateful for their work to expedite that process. And I will conclude my comments there. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. No trustee reports, and we can move to 9 standing committee reports. The first being our open committee of the whole board report. I think it was on the 13th of January. We had a committee of the whole, open committee of the whole meeting around school growth plans, and Jay Dixon and Vivian Collier were with us presenting that, and we had a lot of meaningful conversation around supporting students and what's happening in our district. Really interesting times. Just looking for someone to move that motion. Thanks, Chelsea, seconded by Shannon. All those in favor? Thanks, everyone. Our next open committee of the whole meeting is around the operational budget, 26-27 operational budget, May 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. here at the school board office. So mark up your calendars. Next item is ad hoc policy committee board report. I think, does anyone want to speak to the board report? If not, we can just move the motion.
I have nothing to speak to tonight, but I can move the motion.
Great, thank you. Seconded by Shannon Aldinger. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. The next ad hoc policy committee meeting is Tuesday, February 17th at 5 p.m. Here at the school board office. Just whip through this thing. I'm so nervous. I'm sorry.
You're doing great.
Another committee report that's in the package is our ad hoc gender-based violence committee board report. Was there anything you wanted to add to that, Shannon? If not, you can feel free to move the motion when you're ready.
Yeah,
There's no motion.
there is no specific report because the committee hasn't met in a couple months, but it is meeting tomorrow. But it's for anyone who is following closely, it's not at this board office, it's at the former board office, inclusive in Indigenous education at 607 Cumberland. Anyone on the committee who might attend? Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. So the board offices are the meetings tomorrow morning at 607 Cumberland Road. Great. Number 10, decision items. Adopt the amended annual budget bylaw.
To
Secretary Treasurer Jennifer Nelson.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a presentation, but I do have some slides that I'll just maybe cast up on the screen so that we can follow along. Yeah, so the annual budget for 2025-26 was adopted in June, and it was based on projected enrollment. And now that we have the actual September 30th enrollment and the ministry has confirmed our recalculated grant amount, we're able to prepare the 25-26 amended annual budget for you tonight. We've provided a briefing in the agenda starting on page 21. So there is a detailed report, and I'll just walk through some of the highlights of the adjustments made to the budget. And these slides that I have are really just tables extracted from the report, and I've just put on there which page of the agenda you can find them and where there's further details, just to help for those watching, as well as in attendance. So the operating revenues have increased by 3.69 million. There were some minor adjustments to other revenues, as well as some supplemental funding changes that you'll notice in there. However, the majority of the increase to revenues is related to the provincial grant increase, which is related to overall enrollment. And I'll just provide a snapshot of this table, which is found on page 23. You can see the increase in enrollment went up by 274.32 FTE, as well as unique learners increased. So the total increase to revenues of 3.75 million related strictly to enrollment increases. Salaries and benefits were increased as well in order to support the increased enrollment and unique needs of students. 7.36 FTE teachers were added, as well as 18 educational assistants and 1 EA mentor incorporated. 2 supervision assistants were also included, as well as some clerical support for online learning and HR advisor time. We were also seeing a trend in replacement costs due to leaves and had to adjust the budget accordingly as well. So that's incorporated into the increased salary and benefits. Benefits were also increased proportionately, reflecting the increase in salaries, as well as we had to make an adjustment to what's called the employment retirement benefits, which is an actuarial valuation that's made at year end. So we've incorporated that. There's been no adjustments to wages or salaries for unionized or exempt staff, as collective agreements are still under negotiation, and nor have we received any further direction from PSEC Secretariat. As well as the amended budget also includes the surplus restrictions that were approved in the 24-25 year end. So these figures reflect that. So one of the main items included here was temporary funding for 11 FTE teachers to support online learning, as well as there were additional funds to support student safety, release time for professional learning related to strategic alignment. On the services and supplies, they were also increased, particularly to support our online learning enrollment, about 239,000 to services and supplies related to that, as well as homestay adjustments for our international students. Those amounts that are paid to families were increased slightly after the annual budget was approved, and we've incorporated that 97,000 amount into services and supplies, as well as we finalized our busing contract in the summer, and so that needed to be adjusted accordingly to represent those expenses. So in addition to salaries and benefits, we've also incorporated some of the one-time surplus restrictions that were approved at year end into services and supplies, which amounts to about 1.56 million of this 2 million that you see up here. So included in the briefing, we've provided Appendix B on page 31, which is a detailed listing of all of those cost pressures that we are experiencing in the annual ongoing operating budget. So we've identified those, listed them out. And so that's a combination of both salaries and supplies and services for you. As well as a refresher on those board-approved surplus restrictions that were approved at year end and incorporated now into the amended budget. So the just to note that the operating fund we remain preserving our contingency reserve of $3.8 million, which was the year-end amount. So there's no need to draw on those prior year surpluses to maintain our ongoing operations. Included in that, and maybe I'll just go back a couple of slides here to show you that list of cost pressures. Once we incorporated all of the cost pressures into the operating fund, there was an amount remaining, about $49,600. You'll see at the bottom. And so that's unallocated and considered contingency in the operating fund. So in a very good position with the operating fund, able to balance it and maintain the contingency reserve of $3.8 million. So also included in the amended budget is special purpose funds, and we saw an increase of $1.77 million here, and that is largely due to we received an approval for an increase in the classroom enhancement funding of $790,676, and that represents approximately 3 FTE teacher. As well as there's some other increases to grants for the First Nation student transportation, early care and learning, French programs, National Food Program, and BC Parks Foundation. And so those amounts and details can be found on page 27 of the report. And then finally in the bylaw is our capital fund. We've adjusted that to reflect the year-end surplus restrictions of $705,000 that were also approved at year-end. And that represents liabilities related to other government pending asset remediation and renewal, as well as establishment of an accessibility reserve and some miscellaneous equipment. As we've also adjusted the budgeted amortization and deferred capital revenue assets, which is a standard adjustment that's made at this time of year. And then just highlighting for you, we've prepared a one-page high-level snapshot of the budget. This is a newer item that we thought might be helpful to some readers. And it just really highlights the total number of FTE for students and our staff, as well as highlights where our money comes from and is spent on a high level, kind of percentage-wise. So that can be found on page 33 at the end of the report. And then lastly, we have also prepared the ministry template and bylaw, which is a requirement to be adopted and submitted by February 28th. And we're hoping for 3 readings and adoption tonight. Happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Jennifer. I really appreciate you walking that through for us.
Actually, Chelsea had her hand up first.
Chelsea, then Janice.
I was just trying to recall, was on page 27, the $110,000 for BC Parks, I think I believe is for the rewilding at Courtney Elementary. Is that
That's correct.
That is, and I was just curious, I couldn't remember if that was one time or if that was over.
My understanding it's a one-time. Am I correct, Jay?
Yeah, if appropriate. That was for one school. We have upcoming meetings about 3 additional schools and funding coming our way for those projects to begin as early as this fall.
Thank you.
So there should be 4 schools in total that will have some kind of park space, nature space added to them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jay. Janice, you had a question?
I did have a question, and first of all, thank you again for this, for the paperwork. It was really easy to follow along, and it made a lot of sense as you're putting it together, so thank you for that. When I was looking at it, and I looked at some of the cost pressures, and they're there that the schools are having. Question would be, as we pass this bylaw, but now we're going to prepare the next budget for the next, on that one there. Was there anything in here that was surprising, that was like one of those things that, okay, we didn't realize this was going to be a cost pressure or something on that? Was there anything in there that you felt, we need to make note of as you move forward? And I'm looking at some of, well, the busing, you've got the contract settled, which is great. We know gas prices is not going to be going, hopefully not up, which will have an impact on there. But as you're going through this in some of the cost pressures we're having, is there anything there that we should be aware of as we move further on? Or is it pretty well standard what you saw there? We kind of expect it to happen. Whoever can answer that.
I can maybe speak to it, and then I'll also maybe call on our Director of Finance if she has anything to add. I would say nothing startling that we weren't prepared for, that wasn't coming our way. I think the biggest surprise was them approving our CEF funding, which was a nice surprise for us. I think too, just the benefit side of things and the employment retirement benefits, those actuarial valuations. It's not a huge surprise. However, they seem to constantly be increasing, and we're constantly having to adjust, as well as some of the replacement costs with just the increase in absences and having to constantly ensure that there's coverage and funds for that. And then in addition to that, I would say not necessarily in this amended budget, but as we just see going forward, probably just those inflationary pressures continually coming at us that we have to incorporate into the budget. So our services and supply costs continue to go up. And if our enrollment isn't going up, then we're going to have to be looking to squeeze from other areas. So, but nothing very red flag, I would say.
Any other questions? Oh, did you want to make another
I think I
comment?
would just add one piece. And that is, it's not necessarily a surprise, but I think that the numbers reflect quantitatively what we hear qualitatively, which is around the increase for substitutes and replacements. We are in a sector that is complex. I think the demands in classrooms and outside of classrooms is really profound. And I think where I see potential concern down the road is the need for staff to access leave language, the shortage that we experience in schools and even at the board office. So I would say that it's of note, just recognizing that we had a fairly we were somewhat not conservative. We had a fairly balanced, not a very risky estimation of replacement, and it was insufficient. So we were conservative in projecting costs, and it was insufficient. So just acknowledging that there's $500,000 of additional, potentially depending on usage, right? We're looking at the usage now going, if this carries on for the full year, then we'll have this liability. So that would just be one piece that I would say we're seeing some of the numerical evidence of a narrative of complex system.
Thanks, Jeremy. Does anyone have any questions additionally? Not seeing any. So I'm just going to ask trustees if they would like to move these motions, but I would like them to be read out, just these budget ones, if that's okay. So whoever wants to go ahead and do that. Perfect. Thank you. Janice?
Recommended motions that the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley give all three readings of the School District Number 71 Comox Valley amended annual budget bylaw for the fiscal year 2025-2026, this 27th date of January 2026.
Seconded by Shannon. All those in favor? Great. Thank you, everyone.
You can do the next motion if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you, Chelsea.
That the Board of Education of School District Number 71, Comox Valley, give first, second, and third readings of the 25-26 amended annual budget bylaw specifying a total budget of $174,763,661.
Seconded by Shannon, sorry. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone. Okay, thanks again, Jennifer. That's great. Appreciate you. Moving on to 11, information items, learning services. And I think Jay Dixon, Vivian Collier, and Joe Heslop are going to speak to this one. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you can have the floor.
We have a detailed briefing note, but you have 3 associates in the room together. We like to talk. So we have challenged each other to have a concise presentation where we are going to talk about so many things that are done throughout our district. And we're going to try to pull this off in a short amount of time. And that's not to devalue all the work that's happening. It's just to give everyone a snapshot of the multiple layers of how we collectively help keep our schools safe. So this presentation, hold on, I'm driving it. Voila. This presentation falls under the framework, the components of student safety, and it's modeled around our Ministry of Education and Child Care's annual update that's done on the exact same theme at our Safe School Coordinators meetings annually in each fall. You'll also see some of these headings and themes probably connect to the BC Trustees Association presentations you may have attended, BC SSA, BC Principals, Vice Principals, and our teachers and other partners. So basically the ERACE initiative, Ministry's ERACE initiative to keep our schools safe, falls under the categories of diversity, inclusion, mental health, substance use, school, and online safety. And that's just bundled in. There's so many different things. It's everybody in this room and beyond, collective responsibility to help support student well-being and safety. This year, we've been working closely with Associate Heslop, who now overlooks inclusive education, together with District Principal Tracy Peterson, District Vice Principal Tara Ryan, and their teams. And also, new to the safety portfolio is Associate Collier. So she is supporting this year with initiatives such as anti-racism, emergency management, occupational health and safety, and is connected to our health and safety manager as well. So, and myself, still here. I know I've done several presentations over the years, and I continue to support as a Safe School Coordinator and online safety, violent risk threat assessment, and a direct liaison to the RCMP. But throughout the day, throughout any given day, the 3 of us and others are going to intertwined and sharing responsibilities depending on the scenario, incident, school, or just the flavor of the day. So really brief, I just wanted to say, once again, we're highlighting key priorities this year. And here we go.
Okay, so I just wanted to highlight that the ministry tells us the Safe Schools mandate requires all schools to create welcoming, discrimination-free environments, promoting inclusion, equity, and respect for all identities. And so we wanted to highlight the work that we're doing in that area. And I'd really like to just explicitly highlight when we think about the connection to our strategic plan for education and our goal to support students in developing their core competencies. When we look at the positive personal and cultural identity competency, there's a clear connection there. Positive personal and cultural identity involves the awareness, understanding, and appreciation of the factors that contribute to a healthy sense of oneself. It includes knowledge of one's family background, heritages, languages, beliefs, and perspectives in a pluralistic society. People who have a positive personal and cultural identity value their personal and cultural narratives and understand how these shape their identity. They exhibit a sense of self-worth, self-awareness, and positive identity to become confident individuals who take satisfaction in who they are and what they can do. They contribute to their own well-being and to the well-being of their family, community, and society. When we think of what's going on in the world today, what a critical piece, right? So just wanted to highlight SOGI for you, and that this year we have a district vice principal who has a day dedicated to supporting this work, and she has been meeting regularly with the secondary GSAs. They had a meeting in November and invited Misha Oak to speak with them at that time, and they have one coming up in February that will be hosted at LINC, so connected to the Immigration Center. She also has funding to support rainbow clubs at the schools. So for example, at Isville, the club has designed t-shirts, and at Courtney L, they're creating buttons at this time. There's also funding for inclusive rainbow wall art and murals out there. So Hornby and Airport so far have applied for that and will be getting murals. And then funding for other pieces around safety and promoting safety in the school. And then, of course, capacity building for staff. So as you know, we've had Misha Oak do the masterclass for all our secondary teachers and many of the elementary. And the SOGI leads continue to be part of the fabric within our district. Each school has a SOGI lead that supports the work at the school and promotes it. And Beth Peddle, who is our lead in this area, continues to meet with the SOGI school leads in that area. Anti-racism is continuing the great work that was started by past educators in the district. And we have just hired a new role, a racial equity support teacher, a district teacher who's supporting classroom teachers and schools in the work. This person is Simi Paul, who is an ISFEL teacher, and she will be doing this work until June of 2027. She and I have just started exploring. She just started in January, so we've started exploring possible initiatives. Some of the things we're thinking about is that she can support the work of classroom teachers at the elementary level through our curriculum support teachers that we have at each of the schools. She can work on the middle years collaborative inquiry that we're doing, and in that work, we are working on student agency. And if you're familiar with Shane Saphir, the author of this book, she's all about how do we include and empower students that are continuously marginalized in our system. So that's another great entry point for Simi in working with our teachers. She's also started going through the LRC to look at resources and seeing where we have some holes in that work. I'll be working with the school-based elementary PVP, continuing our leading learning work in this area. The way it touches on that is we are looking at student behavior. How do we bring in the anti-racism piece? And also, how does that get incorporated into our codes of conduct? So something we'll be looking at. For secondary, Simi has just been in talks with Mandart Chan, who is the anti-racism lead for the ministry, and helped lead the work on this document, Anti-Racism, a Guide for Teachers. We are hoping to engage him to support us in working with all grade 8 students and building the capacity of grade 8 teachers to continuously each year share with students in grade 8 an introduction around anti-racism concepts and strategies to approach and deal with those situations. And in grade 9, we're hoping to have for all grade 9 students and supporting the teachers in doing that work as well around active witnessing, or moving away from being a bystander to upholding others. So we're also thinking about bringing the BC Lions in to do a presentation called Team Up to End Racism. They are very engaging, and secondary students have really appreciated previous assemblies with them. So we're hoping that we can bring them in for grades 10 to 12. And then we're also exploring the notion of having some sort of community of practice for open to any educators who work with students. So it could be teachers, could be EAs, ISWs, PVP, whoever's interested in digging deeper into anti-racism and what we could do system-wide together in this work, helping to create perhaps a vision together. I'm engaging Joanne Schroeder. Some of you may know her. She lives in community and has done lots of early learning work in our community over the years, but she also is a facilitator for Compassionate Systems Leadership. And she'll be joining us for that community of practice to help us with grounding and leading towards more generative conversations that will dig deeper into this topic, but helping us manage our emotions around it, because it is a very difficult topic to talk about at times. So we'll be bringing her in, and we're still thinking about how else we'll get that community of practice going. But it will be a dinner series in the spring, and still details to be worked out. So that's sort of what we're thinking at this time.
And that's a snapshot, and I'm going to
Yes.
hand off
Okay,
to Joe.
boom. Really hard to be concise about things that you're super passionate about. I'm going to try. Speaking about the equity scan, I would be remiss when we're thinking about deepening our equity practice to not mention the equity scan. I know that was heavily referenced at the last board meeting, so just want to highlight that and more to come. The Cultural Humility Advisory, early steps were taken with local Indigenous rights holders and those who participated in the Cultural Humility video that Chetty McDonald and Natasha Ranke produced. And this work will continue once the equity scan is complete. And we will be inviting the new racial equity support teacher that Vivian mentioned, Simi Paul, and human resources leadership and other educators to this group. Regarding the LEA, we continue to meet regularly with KFN leadership to ensure that we are upholding the local education agreement and following local protocols when sharing our obligations with school and district-based leadership. Just before we leave this slide, I just want to raise my hands in thanks to the Indigenous education team, Lelena, Jeannie, Chetty, Gwen, Lynn, Jesse, Natasha, Kea, Shannon, Cheryl, and all the ISWs who continue to lead this district in walking gently and respectfully in this territory. Next slide, please. Now, I broke the rules. I'm going to zoom in on mental health here because I just cannot give a high level here, but I will be as quick as I can. When discussing mental health, it's important to remember this is not just pertaining to district initiatives and specialized staff like counselors. We all know that an effective mental health strategy is linked to all of the design principles of the strategic plan. And we've heard as much from the students, how personalized learning, flexible learning environments, land-based learning, decolonization, indigenization, inclusion, these contributed to supporting their well-being and mental health. So just thinking of the District Mental Health Committee that consists of Tara Ryan, Stephanie Baker, and myself. And this year, we're adding Julia Douglas and Janine Lindsay. This year, the committee is highlighting 3 key priorities, that being of mental health literacy, cultural competency, and connecting and belonging with social emotional learning through evidence-based programs. So we wanted to focus on building capacity system-wide through preventative evidence-based programming to support positive mental health in students, particularly in decreasing substance use in students, which was identified as an area of local concern in the McCreary report and through concerns from the District Student Voice Leadership Circle. So tonight, we wanted to share some positive feedback as well as concerns raised from the student voice regarding mental health, literacy, and social emotional learning in our schools and district. So first, the good news. Supportive, and this is right from the students, outlining supportive and caring teacher-student relationships. So many students reported feeling that teachers check in emotionally, be that with surveys, scales, temperature checks, and create welcoming and inclusive spaces. That could be through morning journals, relationships, circle work, etc. Another thing that was highlighted, social emotional learning and mental health topics explicitly taught in classes. So this is from teachers, guest presenters, and students reported learning emotional regulation techniques, self-awareness, and how to manage stress. Now to the concerns. Strong presence, they listed a strong presence in elementary, but it decreases somewhat in secondary. And students also reported that social emotional learning sometimes feels talked about, but not practiced in many of our classrooms. Students also reported stigma around body breaks, if you need body breaks or emotional support. They also reported harsh judgment amongst their peers, which creates that fear of being vulnerable in front of their classmates. And they also said some staff don't intervene or address the root causes of witnessed behaviors in the halls or classrooms, or conflicts are simply shut down instead of using them as learning experiences. So some actions to talk about what we're doing. There's so many classroom approaches. I won't list them all. I do have them here. I'm going to skip over them. School-wide approaches, again, I have them listed, but I'm just going to focus and zoom in on some district approaches. So mentioned earlier, Misha Oak, SOGI training for all middle and high schools, teachers and administrators. Weekly updates for Counselor's Corner, and that's basically supporting specialized staff with current literature and local resources. Staff were trained in a program called Preventure, and that was piloted, that program at Lake Trail Community School. And this includes a partnership with the Foundry for training. Again, partnering through the Integrated Child and Youth Team and Family Smart to provide students and families with a family peer support worker. So this is a free service of support providing guidance to families as they navigate the mental health system. And actually, last week we shared information with principals and vice principals, letting them know about this family peer support worker that can host free educational events on mental health, substance abuse, et cetera. Quickly with Compassionate Systems, just listing that Tracy Peterson attended a BCSSA conference on compassionate leadership with Dr. Met Bell from the Center for System Awareness, and some elementary counselors were also sent for Compassionate Systems training in Burnaby, and a meeting was held for all staff interested in compassionate systems to come together to develop a strategy for implementing compassionate systems on a district level. Over to you, Jay.
If I would let Joe, he would go for the next hour and a half. But concise. Thank you, team.
So hard because we want, we only have so much time in a meeting, but this is a topic that all of us care so passionately.
In our conversation, as we were practicing this,
All that you did,
many of these slides would be excellent committee of the whole conversations.
100%. Yeah, carry on, Dave, sorry,
So
interrupting.
I'm going to touch on, and you've all heard presentations in the past connecting to erase resources. We continue to recommend, promote, urge families, students, educators to take the time to dig through those resources. Great resources connecting to mental health and substance use. Vaping, I'm sure everyone in this room, years ago, it was cigarettes at school. Now vaping. And it's harder to address. So we've been mirroring educational supports around it with partnerships with Island Health. Their resources, they've come in, worked with our principals and others in schools and our students. But we've also added, we're piloting vape detectors in some of our schools. And we have one installed in a school currently. We're fine tuning it, and all of our high schools will have vape detectors in the weeks ahead. So that's kind of another project that we have curiosities on, whether it supports or not. And then there's always resources through partners such as the Foundry that are used probably daily, and other external supports around substance use. Being into the next one. I'm sure each of you have heard, yeah, please, we have some show and tell time. A mandate of the provincial government over the past year has been AEDs, AED training, naloxone, we've talked a lot about, and first aid. We have AEDs available in schools. We have naloxone kits in all schools, working on the support and training. And thanks to our trustees planting a seed, we're able to locate an alternative option to the needles. So one of those kits is your traditional option. Tomorrow, I will be delivering a box of to our executive assistant to distribute at least one of the inhaler option to each of our schools across the district. So, and that's what you have there, the inhaler option. They weren't as cost restrictive as all the rumors we've heard around the
Oh,
province.
amazing.
So we were able to easily afford to make sure each school has at least one of those as another option. So thank you for that guidance and little tip. We've also purchased AED training simulators for kits of them for the high schools. So students and staff can run through these simulators, just like an AED machine, and they prompt you through it. So they can learn how to use these just in case that real one does need to be booted up. Excited to talk about first aid, CPR training. As we know, that was a mandate connected to physical health education. It is happening in our schools, but as we dug deeper, there are some of our schools, students are getting, for example, Highland, I believe in grade 9 and 10, they can take a credit course and get a first aid ticket as their daily learning. We have in our two of our high schools emergency response training, so students getting credit to become paramedics. Throughout the year, there's options in career programs, classes, and other areas where students can get first aid and CPR. Wilderness first aid, we support our outdoor ed teachers and recertify them annually for their wilderness first aid. And really, we're just trying to support more and more of the work to keep our schools safe in that area. Thank you for the work around AP 167 and some of the updates that was done earlier this year. Another topic. This seems to be the one that is plaguing everybody, whether at school, at home, whether in the Comox Valley or in another part of the world. Online cyber safety. Really recommend the Safe School and Erase resources to anybody. But here's a tip. Yesterday, in a Safe School training, community of practice, sextortion, 83% of the cases are male. 63% of those cases started on Snapchat or Instagram, and that's a North American stat. That's not just here. Really want to push out, inform people that there is a new resource, Intimate Images Protection Act, and the resources within it, and it is helping. So, check out the link. Our school counselors, principals, others can refer this. People can go in on their own and use these resources, whether, school time or at home in the evenings, and it's helping. Safe School Together, we do have training and resources. I've talked about those in the past. We have 24/7 critical incident support. So if something were going on, we're informed at any time of the day, we can reach out to Safe School Together for their support. They have subject matter experts, training for students, adults, and school staff, and we're using that more and more. Secure resource site for safe schools coordinators like myself. That way things could be distributed to our teams. And new this year, there's a pilot program that Safe School Together is operating, Snapchat intake and support. So our principals have the ability to put a report in about an inappropriate Snapchat. There is a team with Safe Schools that is able to provide them guidance, because this technology is ever changing. It's hard to keep up with. Well, we have experts there supporting us along the way. Community practice sessions. And I think everybody, continuing to remind people and to support our classrooms. around digital literacy, privacy, safety, and I know our district lead technology teachers are working on that, and our grade 8 teachers are, there's many of them that have been incorporating some of that learning in their grade 8 elective classes. So, lots of topics kind of fit right into one. Priorities, just we are truly trying to ensure that everybody is aware of our safety processes, continuous training, resources available for everyone, utilizing the experts at Safe School Together, ERACE, our violent threat risk assessment protocols, critical incident, just ongoing efforts. And I'm going to tag to Joe because I know he has more he really wants to add to this slide.
Yeah, just speaking about the critical incident response team, given that I'm one of the CERT coordinators, really briefly, a reminder to those that may be watching online, a critical incident can be defined as any event that negatively impacts and or interrupts the normal flow of a school's daily events. So several members of the leadership team joined Jay and I right here in learning from Jennifer Chambers from Safer Schools Together last November. And we're currently updating the CERT manual for principals and including new documents, scripts, and vetted resources from Safer Schools Together. So just a point on that. And with regards to low arousal training, just an update. Low arousal training, again, is a non-aversive approach to managing challenging behaviors, focusing on reducing stress, fear, and frustration to prevent aggression and crisis situations. It emphasizes proactive strategies, early intervention, and minimizing the impact of potential triggers. You'll note that this is sort of connected earlier to the mental health piece that I was speaking about before. No, I'm not adding it on. I think this relates to safety as well. Many staff members have already participated in the day one training for low arousal, and we have two fantastic inclusive education teachers, that's Laura Miller and Nicole Leong, who continue to provide opportunities for staff to build capacity in low arousal strategies. There's actually low arousal strategy training this yesterday, I guess, this week, and there's another learning session being offered February 17th, and we're looking into the future for further training this year as well. Just wanted to close this part of the part of the presentation here, reflecting on my own learning with low arousal, and I feel this approach aligns with the theory and practice of Dr. Carly Christensen from UBC, who was presenting right here yesterday with administrators and case managers for a half-day learning session called Reframing Complex Behaviors, and she'll be back for more sessions on the 16th as well. And I experienced these approaches as being aligned because they challenge some of our assumptions on complex behaviors. They ask us to view complex behaviors as communication and require us to investigate how the environment, trauma, other factors affect that communication. And lastly, this approach can empower us to consider how the way we show up can lead to de-escalate complex behaviors. Thank you. Next slide, please.
I have the next slide up. That's a sample of many of the manuals that were written 4 years ago. Those were acknowledged, our retired colleague, Sean Lamoureux, who we worked closely with to set guides and protocols at the time for our district moving forward. Our goal now, if you look at some of those dates, it's been a minute. 4 years has flown by. It's time to start updating and refreshing these. So that is future work and current work that is underway. These manuals need to be updated with current procedures, policies, ministry initiatives, and that's the work ahead of us, because each of those kind of screenshot pictures, those are go-tos in many situations for our staff across the district. So, yeah.
Okay, and so over the years, you've had presentations about this topic before, and this is ongoing work that we're continuously doing. We have a dedicated team that meets monthly. Some of the highlights that might be interesting to people is last year, our health and safety manager and food services coordinator worked together to create a system around replenishing our emergency supplies at schools, because we need to make sure that everything is up to date. So for example, in talking with the food services coordinator last week, she said she's going in there to do the first step towards that, and updating, for example, the granola bars have to be switched out. So the ones that are currently in the bins will be shared with students, and then they will put in the new ones. So everything in there has to be watched according to the timelines and replenished. So she's doing that work. The district now has 2 portable battery systems. So when we have struggles with outages, we can now run internet and phones at schools if required. So within half an hour, we can make a decision. Is this going to be a long-term thing or short-term thing? And it can have energy at the school for the day. Parents, if you're interested in learning more about the emergency procedures in schools, on the website, you'll find tons of information, and you can even download the PDF to get more information about that. So we're available for questions if anything comes up with that, but those are the highlights in that area right now.
Thank you. Done several presentations around Erase resources, Report It tool. I've mentioned it a couple times this evening. I can't emphasize enough to encourage people to visit those resources. One highlight that I'd like to just show this evening, real high level. The top piece of data that we've been keeping over the past few years is the Erase Report It tool. That is information that goes, it's the calendar year, not the school year. So what I've circled there, or ovaled in green at the top, that number 48, that is how many reports came in 2025. And you can see the previous years. I would go as far to say that shows us we're doing a better job at informing students of the tool. And I hope to see that number actually increase this year. I would go as far as saying that, that is an indication that not more things are happening in our schools, but that the kids are feeling more comfortable reporting items in our schools. The second line is, we are on contract with Safe School Together, and they scan for worrisome behaviors. So over the past few years, I reflect back to 2022, 37 reports came in that they found with concerning behaviors online. This last year, 3 items were brought up by our consultants. And the bottom line is Safe School Together case consultations. That's us seeking out the support of their experts. And we had 35 specific case consultations last year with their team. And I believe that we are doing a better job at reaching out, knowing when to reach out and reaching out for assistance with their teams. And they're fantastic to work with. Just a little snapshot of some of our year-to-year information. And we pulled it off, team. I know we went a little over time, but we'd really love to show this 2-minute video where we can catch our breath before any questions. Let's see if, Josh, can you help me out there? Yeah.
Every day, you face new experiences. The good news is, you're not alone. Erase offers support for safe, caring, and inclusive schools. Whether you're a student, adult, or school staff, Erase is here to assist you in finding the support and information you need. Students can use the Erase Report It tool. It's a confidential and anonymous reporting tool that empowers you to let your school know if something is not right. If you want to talk to someone, you can use the Erase website to get support by phone, chat, or text 24/7. And explore topics you may have questions about, such as mental health and substance use. You can find mental health resources and ways to talk with your friends and family about substance use so everyone can make safe and informed decisions about their well-being. Or online safety, where you can find tips on navigating social media and your online activity in a way that feels good to you. Erase also has resources for diversity and inclusion, including information on what to do if you or someone you know is experiencing bullying behavior, racism, or other concerns, including ways to take action to stop it. Adults, Erase offers help on a variety of topics, free training and information to guide you with new and unfamiliar conversations with children and youth. School staff can access free resources and supports to enhance your classroom and training to promote a positive, inclusive learning environment. Ready to get started? Visit the Erase website today and take the first step toward creating safer and more supportive school communities.
Thank you for the audience. I know we're all excited about this work, and we're thrilled to be doing it together.
Question, Janice?
I have two questions, but I'll do the first one first, and then I'll let somebody else speak if that's the second one. Thank you for the report. It was really, really great, and yay, the beignets on the box on there. Mental health and substance abuse and substance use. And I guess my question is regarding mental health and students and that stigma that might happen. As adults, we know that sometimes we need a personal health day. We need a day that, we want to stay home. We don't want to go to work or for our own mental health. And I'm wondering, are we ensuring that students know that if they need a day to decompress, a day to just stay home, a day not to come to school, a day where they're overwhelmed, that opportunity should be allowed to them via their school principal, their school teacher? Because when I speak to some students, they don't feel that that is, I guess, shared with them. And I guess they feel that, oh, they're not at school today, they're just lazy, they're just having a bad day. So I'm wondering, are we ensuring that kids need that time off for their own, we're letting them have it, or could we encourage it? How can we promote that day where they're overwhelmed, they need, going to school is the last thing they need to do, but they feel compelled and almost like they have to go to school, because if they don't, it comes with, you missed your schoolwork, your homework. Like, I'm just wondering, how are we doing better to improve that with students?
Yeah, I think really when I hear that question, I think it's so student specific, and it really relies on relationship and understanding where students are at, and understanding that student's particular need with regards to stigma-free mental health, allowing an excused absence or something of the like. And I would assume that through school-based team, through other relationships with adults, that folks are able to see that. When I think about, again, it's about understanding the student, because I think anything to do with a blanket statement is tricky around days away from school. This is my thinking here is my own kids, one of my own kids had a mental health day last week, which my wife and I suggested that they have that given what's going on. But at other times in their time, they would take that time away because, hey, it's a time away. And so I think really it has to be catered and around relationship and really knowing kids. Like the students said, the things that foster their mental health is that relationship with their teacher, with their counselor, with their ISW, and then being able to advocate for those specific students, but not all students.
And we're also on a journey as an organization, as society, around one of our principles in our strategic plan. What does flexible learning look like? And how does that support students that are having mental health and other struggles?
Thank you. Shannon, go ahead.
Yeah, I have two questions. One's probably a little quicker than the other. The first is directed towards, well, first let me say, it's really exciting to hear all of the different initiatives that are underway, some of which I think have been around for a number of years and some of which are new, and it's just great to see it all integrated. And with respect to the anti-racism measures, I'm also very excited that our district is digging as deep into that as it is. I'm curious whether there's been any outreach to the Community Justice Center in the Comox Valley, because they've certainly been doing a lot of work, I think based out of some materials that the Anti-Hate Network had put out, and developing like lesson plans around like interventions that are very like role playing and that type of thing. And so I'm just curious, knowing that work is going on in our community, and whether
Yeah, so
maybe outreach to
I did
them.
have a meeting with the manager of the Justice Center, before winter break. And they shared with me the initiatives that they worked on. I also heard from the district principal from last year about the work that they've been doing. So yes, we have shared all of that information. And there may be opportunities in the future to do some work together, but at this time, we don't have anything planned.
How'd you know about them? That's what I wanted to know.
Back to me. Okay, so my question has to go with the first aid training with the schools, whether it's CPR, naloxone, and I know the AEDs are in schools. So I know that schools, especially at the secondary level, their plates are full, and depending on what their course schedule is there, we're looking at ensuring that all students before they leave grade 12 have CPR and all the other training. And I'm wondering how we're fitting those recommendations into what we're doing with our students currently today, or is there or is there something that we need to do to ensure that when those students are getting the necessary training? And we have AEDs in our schools, but our students in the gym, are they able to be the training to use it if they have to, if the teacher's not available? So it's just that first aid training that I think the Ministry of Education, I'm not sure if they've quite mandated it yet, but they're wanting that all students, by the time they hit grade 12, to have some major training in the CPR and naloxone.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how we're managing with our district, especially with the grade 11s and 12s, with some of their course levels being so full, how are we fitting that into what their learnings are?
So one of the approaches that the ministry has moved forward with, it is required curriculum in Health and Career Education 10 that all students have to take. And that is where the CPR and AED will be embedded. But areas where we've been supporting the schools and will continue to listen and learn from the schools is, for example, how do we train on AED? So we found training kits. And class sets of them. And they're very intuitive in terms of, when you can use a tangible kit, you can learn from it. So all our grade 10 students will do that, and online as well. Then that course will embed training in the required, I believe it's CPR and some first aid skills. What we're fortunate in our district is the variety of elective kind of credit options that either take it further or, like I mentioned, my kiddo in grade 9 was ecstatic to do a CPR first aid course as an elective class. And there's other options where kids are going into getting the paramedic course. So still some work to be done. This is year 1, so we always collect feedback, and we hear from our schools on how we continue to enhance it. I think long term, it's how we resource the training supplies. I was a first aid provider in another life, and those supplies can be expensive, and you need the appropriate mannequins and other training supplies. We're okay right now. We've kind of front loaded and helped. Those naloxone kits, the one with the needles are free, but those other ones come at a cost, and they expire every 2 years. So just being aware that we will need to, keep a small amount of budget to keep up with those types of resources. But really excited as to where things are going. And hey, it could help save someone's life in the future.
One more.
Absolutely.
I appreciated the comments around how great the resources are that are coming from Safer Schools Together, which I understand works with the province in relation to race reporting tool and all of that. And I've looked at them myself, particularly in relation to gender-based violence, but and some of the other topics as well. And I'm curious whether we have any sense of whether like our district community, our schools communities are like digging into them and like using them, and whether they find them useful. I mean, I certainly think they're useful, but I'm curious if we get any feedback from our staff about that.
That's an excellent question because, Erase, the ministry has the Erase initiative, and they contract Safe School Together to provide the training and supports and some of the online worrisome behavior monitoring, and then their platform of resources from around North America. Our community practice sessions and our training sessions that we host here are well attended by our educators and leaders. I'm noticing more and more of the online outside of work or, during the afternoon being attended. We've been promoting some of the parent sessions. I hear of some. I think we could be utilizing it more. We've done some great work in the past with DPAC on trying to market some of those parent sessions. There's some classroom sessions that are done. I continually think, and that was a goal that I believe in the quarterly report as a challenge, is it's challenging to get these onto a parent's phone where they're fumbling away in a proactive way rather than, oh no, something happened, I need help. If we get more and more people kind of poking around in there, and if we can share that, go check that site out. So I think there's still much room to grow.
I was curious more from a staff perspective, if we're finding that staff are finding these tools and resources useful.
I believe so and I know our district Tara Ryan, who works with our district council, all our counselors, she distributes a lot of these tools, and we're seeing enrollment in some of them too.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
and
Jim,
I just wanted to tack on one of the areas where I've seen it most effective is the report it tool. The fact that I'm seeing, being linked in, I'm going to give a pat on the back to my partner here, where those students are, I think that's where really the rubber hits the road with these reports, is that where they say, this is what's happening. I'm not feeling good about this, blah, blah, blah. We know what school it's at. Jay is on it within 4 minutes to the principal, vice principal. By end of day, that matter has been addressed and it's been brought back to us. I think that's where I see this really most effective, and it's quite frequent, and good to see that students are using that, and sometimes leaving their name, sometimes not, and that's where I think it really matters.
Thank you. Well, I will just thank you three again for giving concise presentations.
We tried.
That were extremely informative. I think one of the favorite sort of aha things that happen in my mind is just that student safety seems to be everyone's job right now. Everyone has a piece of it. So collectively and collaboratively, we're all focusing on this as something that's really important to us. We've heard it from students, we've heard it from staff. We all feel that way. So yeah, thank you so much for the work that you're doing and informing us on what's happening. And yeah, I really appreciate hearing a bit more about it. So thank you all very much. We do have a motion on the table to receive the update. Chelsea's going to move that motion, and Shannon's going to second it for me. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Great. Thanks so much again. So we can move on to business services. We'll be receiving the major capital project status update. And it's my understanding that Jeremy's just going to.
I'll just introduce it briefly.
Yep,
Pages
thank you.
59 to 62.
Great.
Our Director of Operations, Molly Proudfoot, has provided sort of a quick pictorial catch up on some of those major projects. So that's been included in today's board package, and it shows some significant work being done across the district.
Thanks, Jeremy. Does anyone have any questions about that? If not, then someone could move the motion for me. Janice, thank you. Oh, great. So move my motion.
Second.
I'll see seconding. Thank you.
Excuse me.
All those in favor? Great, thank you. And then we have the Q2 financial update for 2025-26 annual budget. And I think Candace Hilton, our Director of Finance, is going to speak to that.
Thank you. So the Q2 financial update begins on page 63 of tonight's package. The report shows for you the actual revenues and expenditures as of December 31st in comparison to the annual budget that was approved last June. The report was expanded this quarter to include a comparison column displaying the actual percentage collected or spent to December 31st of the prior school year. And now that the amended budget has been approved tonight, future Q3 and Q4 updates will include the comparison to the amended budget values with projections to the end of the year. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the report.
Thank you so much, Candace. That's great. Just looking to see if anyone has any questions. Shannon?
Just say thanks for the extra column. That's really interesting additional information. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So we will, do you want to go ahead and move that motion then, Shannon?
Yes.
Great. And seconded by Janice Kate. All those in favor? Great. Thank you. Move along to board business. Unfinished business, the recommendations of our Gender-Based Violence Committee report update. Jeremy Morrow.
Yeah, thank you. I think an appropriate column for unfinished business, and it won't be finished after the update today, but did want to just provide just a very brief verbal update on a couple of pieces that we've been able to move forward with. One, I appreciate the willingness and the engagement of our partner groups to work collaboratively around how to move forward with the recommendations. And in addition, just wanted to share that this week there will be a posting for a 1.0 teaching position that will help support moving forward with those recommendations. So it's a 2-year 1.0 position. As well, just an update a little bit around the ad hoc policy committee working concurrently with on the gender-based violence policy while we're working concurrently on some APs that support the recommendations that were provided in the gender-based violence report.
Thanks for that information, Jeremy. Do you have a question,
I just
Janice?
have a question. That it's great that you're having someone for 2 years. That's wonderful. But in 2 years, what I'm wondering if there's any way we can ensure that it's documented that it's a 2-year position, because 2 years from now, we talk about budgets, that position may or may not be there, and understanding as the process, it was just a 2-year term position and may or may not be extended after 2 years. Just something that when we do these 2-year positions for certain things, people change, new members of the public are part of the conversation, and the understanding that's why was that position gone or not renewed, and just understanding that process, just something that keep in mind.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the struggles with any time we bring in a temporary position is it feels like a cut when the temporary position ends. Just acknowledging that both the anti-racism work as well as the gender-based violence work are positions that were set aside from the appropriated surplus, so they're not yet part of the operating budget. And if that movement occurs, then those become continuing positions. So this is money that was in prior years set aside from surplus funds, not yet part of the operating, which is why they're temporary positions. And certainly we'll keep updated as we approach the end of those term positions.
Thanks. Okay. Under new business, our superintendent performance appraisal plan. So I'm happy to speak to this. As part of our commitment to effective governance and accountability, the board is taking an active role in leading by example through the annual review of the initiation of a superintendent's performance review. So Suzanne Hoffman has been engaged to conduct the review and will be reaching out to staff, partner groups, rights holders, trustees in late January, early February as part of this process. I'm looking forward to these connections and the meaningful dialogue that they're going to support in completing the review. This work aligns with our board's work plan and strategic goals and direction. So happy to have that piece of information brought to everyone. Yeah, good news. Next, correspondence. A is Ministry of Education response to the Gender-Based Violence Committee report, which is in our package. The second piece of correspondence was a policy request by CDTA, establishment of a sanctuary school policy. Trustee McConnell-King, were you going to speak to that?
Yeah, sure. Just very briefly, we just wanted to first, we will be putting a motion before the trustee, my colleagues tonight. However, we just wanted to express our really immense gratitude to our partner group, to Sean and your executive, Sean Holland with the CDTA. I feel that taking this step and working with us is really something we help. We're grateful for the help in moving us forward and really appreciate the work that went into this. Excuse me. Though it came through our superintendent and the ad hoc policy committee has had a view of it, we wanted to follow proper process. So I would like to put a motion before my colleagues tonight, excuse me, that the Board of Education of School District 71 refer the request to the ad hoc policy committee, specifically so that we have the will of the board to move forward, given that it would be the establishment of a new policy. So I'd love to put that motion before my colleagues. Thanks. And then if there's any discussion, by all means, I know that's your part. My apologies. Sorry.
That's okay. The motion's been seconded, so if we can discussion. I see Michelle Waite's hand up there. If you're unmuted, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if you could read that motion again, just a little slower, please.
Yes, sorry. I apologize. I'm not feeling the greatest. That the Board of Education of School District number 71, Comox Valley Schools, refer the request to the ad hoc policy committee. And I did throw this together myself somewhat quickly. So if the wording ought to be better served by putting the full name of the policy request, I would appreciate Candace's support in that. Thank you.
Thanks. That might be helpful just for motion tracking. But thanks for starting us out on that, Chelsea.
Thank you.
So thanks for, if I put my closed captioning on with my other laptop, sometimes I lose you guys, so I couldn't quite get all the words.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it okay for us to just add the name of it like that? I think we can, can't we? Did you capture that?
It's from
A friendly amendment?
It's the
And
intent.
did that capture on your end, Candace?
It,
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any more communication on this matter? Great, all in favor? I guess I have to put my hand up too, I count. And our next item, thanks everyone. Our next item C is a request for CVS board inclusion on a motion. And I believe you're going to speak to this, Trustee Waite?
I am, yeah, thank you.
Great.
So in our package, there's a letter and a draft motion to the upcoming BCSTA AGM. And just probably for ease of process, I'll provide a motion and then we can discuss it. So I'd like to move that the Board of Education of School District Number 71 Comox Valley thank the Southeast Kootenai Board of Education for their invitation, indicating that due to timelines to offer amendments, we are unable to join as movers of the motion. And then if someone seconds it, I'm happy to speak to it.
Okay, can I get a seconder? Janice Caton, thank you. And go ahead and speak to it, Michelle, and then if anyone has any
Great.
questions, I'll.
Thank you. So we had this School District 5 Southeast Kootenai Board of Education sent us a letter beginning of January with a motion and offered that we could participate with them in putting our board's name with this motion upon our board's approval. But then we ran into some roadblocks where we weren't going to be able to provide any amendments to the motion that we might like. And then they were supposed to bring us back any amendments that they had done with their branch, and they didn't do so. So in order for us, so they said to us, we could only agree to it as currently written, not be able to provide any amendments. And so my understanding is that while we would be happy to have discussion at AGM about this motion, that we weren't entirely, there might have been some refinement that we might have liked to have made to it. And because we weren't able to do so, that we were just going to thank them for offering to include us, but that we would have to pass.
Thanks for that additional information and context, Michelle. Does anyone, Janice, go ahead.
Yeah, and just to say that while we can't do any amendments to that currently, does not preclude us at the AGM bringing forth an amendment to their motion that could be discussed at the time of a presentation. So if there are things in there that we would like to add or change or amend, because we have that 29th deadline, we have to submit it to it, doesn't preclude our board or any other district or any other trustee at AGM submitting an amendment to the motion, because we have an amendment to the motion and amendment to the amendment, that's what we have AGM for. So just because we can't do it now doesn't preclude us doing it at AGM. So we look forward to having the discussion and debate and see what other trustees have to say. But I know they have also sent this motion to other districts and other branches to have its inclusion. So look forward to the conversation. And if anything we'd like to add, I'm looking forward to have that conversation at AGM also.
Thanks for bringing that up, Janice. I appreciate that. That was on my top of mind as well to talk about. So that's great. Yeah, we'll see the motion at AGM. I think that's, all in favor, right? All in favor. Okay. Let's keep on track here. We forgot. There was nobody else, right? I'm good. Did you want to, you can round up now. It doesn't have to be, do you have a comment?
No.
Okay.
I think,
Like anybody can speak.
I think that was really well mentioned. I think,
yeah.
I feel like it's great to see good work happening. And I think that hopefully we can find a way to, you know,
Yeah, and wishing them
be
the
with them
best.
in spirit without putting it forward or in a way that we feel could use some work.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks. Public question period to the board. Is there anything else online besides what you sent me? So I did get a question sent to me. And I'm just going to read the whole thing because it gives context. It says, "This issue has been raised at PAC meetings frequently. If the time it takes to supervise the vape detectors proves to be a barrier to implementing them, how will that problem be solved? Is there an option for more staffing support for supervision?" And then an additional follow-up question was, where can we send follow-up questions about vape detectors and bathrooms, please?
Yeah, why don't I answer that? First of all,
Great.
I think the question, whoever's asking it has a clear understanding that vaping is a systemic issue in our bathrooms, particularly at middle and secondary school. I think anytime somebody's asking how will we be able to supervise a detection system adequately is an indicator of the problem, and I just want to acknowledge that they are on point with that concern. The hope is that the vape detectors, one, actually are a deterrent, and then two, that the response to those vape detectors is initially a lot more time consuming than over time as it starts to change the usage of our bathrooms. I want to point out too that this isn't a conversation just about vaping, but about the safe access to washroom spaces for the purposes of washrooms. And when anybody is vaping in there, somebody else who comes in just to use that space for its intended purpose doesn't feel safe, feels awkward. So there is a concern, and we hear it specifically and directly from students when we talk to them around their experience of using bathrooms in our schools. It's a small step forward in trying to make that a safer space. We are committed, and I'm hopeful that actually the impact of installation actually changes the amount of supervision required, but we're committed to making those bathrooms safe. Not sure specifically how we will respond if we're having trouble managing those pieces, but certainly we're committed to making those bathrooms safer. So I think those questions specifically, if they're coming from PACs, obviously principals to work with, if there's questions at a district level, because they largely are focused on middle and secondary school, I would direct those questions to Associate Superintendent Jay Dixon.
Okay. So the principal or Jay Dixon?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Was there any other questions from the public tonight? Go ahead, Sean.
Sean Holland from the Watts District Teachers Association. During the presentation from our associate superintendents, there was the commenting about the training around de-escalating complex behaviors and how valuable that training was. And I was able to participate in it yesterday, and I will echo that it was valuable. But my question is there going to be opportunity for that training to be provided to teachers, that the people that I had the training with were LSTs and other people who are not in the classrooms regularly? And I know that administrators are getting that training as well, but again, not the individuals who are immediately dealing with those behaviors. So I'm wondering if there's a plan to provide that training to teachers.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. It's a great question, and I think it's really important that we're providing opportunities for learning where that learning will serve our students most directly. Obviously, LST are dealing with complex behaviors and principles, but the face of that is our teachers in regular classrooms. So interesting, we have had conversations just around ways we can have entire staff access training in an affordable, accessible way. And so we are exploring that, specifically connected to the opportunity that we had, was it yesterday morning, the possibility of looking at future staff meetings to spend some of that time getting that specific training. So we are looking at how can we get training to all of our folks. And I think that, when we look at, like, we're so privileged to have staff asking for more tools to meet the needs that we have in our classrooms, and we're going to do what we can to provide those tools. And certainly that training is one of the tools that I think is very helpful.
Thank you.
Any other questions tonight? Great. I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's nice to see everyone. And I'm just looking for a motion to adjourn. Shannon, and seconded by Chelsea. Thank you. All those in favor? Great. Thank you. I hope everyone has a safe journey home.